Good afternoon, all. I trust everyone is safe and well, and that everyone had a great long weekend. Thank you very much to all who responded to our survey after Friday's webinar. Welcome to the third week of the Open Classroom Civil Designer series and the ninth webinar. Today is Tuesday, which we have set aside for the Survey and Terrain module, with Andrew as your Civil Designer Software Facilitator. As always, please feel free to use the text chat service on your GoToWebinar floating dialog to ask us any questions you may have during Andrew's presentation. So, without further delay, Andrew, please take it away.
Hi there. In the previous Survey and Terrain webinar, we had a look at the strings platform design, and we had these two overlapping platforms. So I had a question on how to tidy up these overlapping banks. And there's a function here under the strings pull-down menu, recalculate all, which is designed for this purpose. So running that function, it'll look for overlapping areas in your banks and then tidy up and neaten up those banks. You can clearly see there that those two bank lines are now neatly trimmed. If I have a look at this other project of mine here, I've got three strings platforms that are overlapping. So even though the terrain strings have tied in correctly, we still have some overlapping banks. So this recalculate all will then tidy up those overlaps and neatly trim and tie in the platforms correctly. So for the rest of today's Survey and Terrain webinar, I'm going to do some editing on this larger platform, strings platform, and then I'll move on later to design a pond as well. So I'm just going to go delete this platform by name, that second platform that I added previously. Okay, so I've deleted that second string, so I just need to tidy up the bank here where the overlap occurred. So what I'm just going to show you is this strings, string editing, and re-height a string. So at any stage you can select a string and select to re-height it with these various methods. So just interpolating on surface in this case. And you can see it's fixed up that portion of the bank where it previously was trimmed back. Okay, so next up I want to introduce some drainage across our platform. So I'm selecting the parent string and then I'm going to use this range editing function. So you can edit individual vertices, but you can also edit a range of vertices. For the drainage, I'd like to use the vertical grade option, which allows you to implement a grade between 2 points. So in this case, it's the closed string. I'm going to select this left edge of the platform and to try a 1% grade between those 2 points. So type in the grade and then you can see the start and end elevation. Try 0.5% grade, which doesn't quite give me enough elevation at the back there, so I'll make it 1% rather. Just check what that gives me. Okay, and then just run that function. And then those levels between that start and end vertex would be recalculated. Okay, and then maybe just to give you an idea how those levels are changing, you could switch on the actual levels. But in this case, I want to show you the strings have now got in the display settings their own contour display. So you go into the string settings, you can set your contour interval, your highlighting interval, and your own pens. Okay, so you can see I've already got some full, but I've only now calculated the one side. So I'm just going to delete that level that I put in earlier. And then I want to now grade this part from the bottom right up to the top left edge. So instead of grading that one, I'm going to try the strings range editing, the vertical taper. So it just takes your start and end elevation and just interpolates the levels in between at a flat grade. So my start and end elevation, and yes, you can see those contours then are updated to show the fall across my platform. We can maybe just switch on the arrows as well. So in the strings display settings, we have got the option to draw slope arrows. You can set your own color, and then you can also set the size. The default is a little bit too big, so I'm making it 1 millimeter. And there you can see the slope, the drainage across our platform. You can also see which part of the terrain string platform banks are in cut and fill based on the arrow's direction. Okay, and then next up I want to move on to the platform volume calculation. I'm just switching off the arrows, and then we're running strings, string editing, and the volume calculation. Just select which string I'm going to be working with. I can select which ground surface it's got to base its calculation on, topsoil stripping, and then your compaction factor, 92 in this case, I'm going to work with. Okay, and then just running that calculation quickly, you can see my unadjusted cut and fill, and then the volumes adjusted for the compaction and topsoil stripping. You do also have the option to balance your cut and fill now with the terrain strings calculation. Okay, then I'm going to move on to the top section of the site, and in this area I'm going to be designing a pond. So this is the area designated for the pond. I've got a drawing here. You can see this is the proposed position of my pond, with an island as well in the middle of the pond. But initially I just want to design the outer extents of the pond. So I'm just going to be using the CAD application because I want to show you how the paste to the correct coordinates now work. So this is drawn as a polyline, and it's got its own CAD layer. Okay, so I'm going to be copying this polyline, and then I want to paste it into my main site, into my main drawing. So changing to my project drawing, and then I'm pasting at the original coordinates. Another option for me in this case would have been to load the layer, seeing that it wasn't a separate layer. Okay, just changing back to the terrain application, and I want to now design the pond outer wall. So I'm using string creation, string from polyline, and selecting that newly loaded polyline. I'm designing my pond, and I'm giving it a level previously worked out, 1344. Okay, and yes, I can delete that polyline, and I'm not processing any other lines, so that's fine. Okay, so let's just check in the properties here that it is a terrain string at the correct level. So the main reason I want to do this now is to show you the different operation types when creating your child string. So in this case, I'm going to go string creation, create child, and then I'm going to create on the inside of the pond firstly, offset string, and I'm going to use the grade with horizontal offset. I'm using a grade of 1 in 3, but I want it to fall down, so that's a negative grade. And you can see there, if I hold my cursor, negative is to fall, positive would be a climbing grade. Then my horizontal offset 5 meters. You can see then it pops in that child string at the 5 meter offset. So I'm going to create another child string using a different operation type. So in this case, I'm using a horizontal offset to a specific elevation. So I want the bottom of my pond to be at 1340, and I'm putting that 8 meters away. So next up, I want to design the strings on the outside of the pond wall. So I just need to select the platform string, the initial string, and then string creation, create child, which side? So this time we're working on the outside. So that's important. And I'm going to be using a horizontal and a vertical offset. So it's a horizontal vertical distance. So my vertical I want to go down, so it's a negative 0.25. And then horizontally I want to go 5 meters. Okay. And then from there I'm just going to be tying into ground. So once again I can just go to create child, and I want to grade to a surface. And the surface I'm using is that intermediate surface. I can maybe just check those slopes. Let's flatten it out a little bit. 1 in 3 for cut and fill. Okay, so it's just interpolating all around my pond now, creating that bank up and down to ground. Can maybe just switch on those bank lines so we can see what that looks like. Maybe just zoom into the pond extents and then just right click to clear selection. Then to have a look at the cross section through the pond wall, we can have a look at the new quick profile viewer. So it's under terrain, quick profile viewer, and then just select which surface we're using. For the DTM interpolation, we're using the string, so the terrain string model to interpolate your start and end points, so you can draw any kind of path. And then if I just move this down, you can see the crosshair, that profile through the dam wall. At the moment, after it goes to that inside string, it's just tying into the DTM. Okay, so next up I want to convert this pond to a DTM surface, the terrain string. So I'm selecting our main pond string, going to string editing and translate to DTM surface. Selecting an unused surface down here, 25. I'm selecting to convert all the children as well, and I want them to be done as feature lines. So let's maybe just switch on that surface in the display settings. I'm going to hide everything, set everything to hidden, and then just right click to activate surface 25. So all the string vertices have been converted to DTM points and it's been triangulated. I just want to add some additional triangulation lines here just to give it a bit of structure through the middle of the pond. Not really necessary, but I'd like to add that island at some stage. So one possibility is to just quickly draw in those triangulation lines. To try the alternative, I'm just going to remove these newly added break lines using the new model break lines remove crossing function, which allows you to define a path and all the break lines underneath your defined path will be removed. So I'm just going to click from the side to that side and remove all those newly added break lines. Okay. And then what I'll do is just add some new points inside that section of the pond, just so that I can triangulate it a little bit neater. So I'm inserting points, just your normal model insert point. Going to be inserting new points on surface number 25, the pond surface at that inside of the pond level 1340. Okay, so I'm just going to click and enter just to get these others in here nice and quickly. So those are all going in at 1340. Okay, you can just right click and quit out of there. Okay, and then I want to be able to triangulate just the inside portion of the surface. So I'm going to just use that polyline that we copied across previously to define a polygon fence in the terrain module. Okay, so it's in terrain, it's model, and fence and I want to define a fence, in this case based on that polyline that I just pasted in. If I click inside, I'm going to give it a name, pond, and accept. Okay. So you can define as many of these fences to work with. So in this case, I want to use the defined fence in my IntelliLine triangulation. So model IntelliLines, and I'm going to confine the triangulation to this fence. There's a checkbox to use the fence, and in this case it's my pond fence. I'm keeping all the existing triangulation and just adding the new triangulation on the inside. Okay, maybe just switch off those names so you can see the triangulation. So I think for this webinar I'm going to stop at this point, and then next time we can use the dam volumes function to create a water surface and use that in a 3D render view. Thanks for watching, and back to you, Charles.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you to all who attended today. Please remember to renew your work from home lockdown civil designer software licenses. Excuse me. This can be done by clicking on the work from home button on the civildesigner.com homepage, which will take you to the trial and work from home version page. At the bottom of that page is a paragraph that says, can I extend my temporary license, with a link which you can click on. Please just follow the easy prompts thereafter and we'll renew your work from home license for the next 30 days. Remember, this is a free service we've made available to all our clients during the COVID-19 pandemic. Please also remember to follow us on on LinkedIn. That's our civil designer page. See you all tomorrow at the same time and place for our roads module class. Thank you very much and goodbye.